Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome back to Tom Plays EU4 for absolute beginners. We are back with France and we're finally ready to start the clock. So yeah, we'll probably be doing some diplomatic stuff as we're waiting to find out whether England hands back. Scotland's offered an alliance. I'm a little worried about that because if it kicks off with England, England are going to be able to attack Scotland. But I don't want to turn them down, so let's go with it. So with that in mind, if we right click on Scotland, let us offer them a royal marriage. So we basically want royal marriages and alliances with everyone. Can probably even have royal marriages with our vassals, which will be fine. We now have a free diplomat. Possibly our best option would be to improve relations with Castile first. Simply because we're going to be depending on them when the war starts. We do actually now have enough ducats for an infantry. So let's recruit one. There tends to be a bit of a waiting period after sending. Oh, here we go. So here are some of our vassals. Probably leave them to send the royal marriage requests. It's fine, but we'll accept them when they send them. So yeah, we can't send another diplomat to Castile now until the 14th. But we want to start improving relations with them. They're rivals of England anyway. So we're fine. Very unlikely they won't join in. But generally speaking, it isn't a good idea to have diplomats sat around doing nothing. It generally costs you nothing to put them to work, so you should try and keep them busy whenever you can. So one thing I haven't pointed out is we've got this whole screen over on the right that gives us an idea of what we're currently doing. So it shows us recruiting some new troops, new regiments. It shows our 2 diplomats working to improve relations and our 1 diplomat building a spy network. Now this isn't a big deal. This is a royal marriage we just started with one of our vassals. They'll probably send another request. That's absolutely fine. Most of the other stuff on here isn't really that important, but it's handy to see where your diplomats are. And also to see when you're still recruiting regiments. Also, even though this alert's a bad thing, it is quite handy to give us an idea of where we stand with our various diplomatic relations. So we have royal marriages and alliances with everyone other than our vassals, which is good. We're also guaranteeing Scotland, which is absolutely fine. The Pope has excommunicated Savoy, so this is exactly why we're improving relations with the Pope, to stop this from happening to us. So Savoy is actually here, so we now have, in theory, a reason to attack them and take some land from them. I'm not going to do it, basically because while the question of Maine is still hanging in the air, I don't really want to go to war with anyone, if I can avoid it. Not even Brittany, who we could desperately do with going to war with before Provence does. We just need to work out what England's going to do first. Right, so this troop here, I don't think I mentioned you actually left click to select them, or obviously drag, but you right click to move them. Okay, this doesn't actually affect us. It's more to do with Poland. But Poland's quite a way away, so they may affect us later. Well, not so much right now. Okay, so one reason to click and drag is because if I just click on these, I only get part of the army. So I'm actually going to drag across. That gives us all the armies in this area. And I'm actually going to merge them together. So they're now one army of 14,000. That's interesting. They managed to not be excommunicated. I think usually the ruler has to die to make that happen. Maybe they did. After all, one of our royal marriages just ended when somebody died. Right. Okay, so while we're waiting... Actually, while I think about it, I do want to make these armies the same. So as we've got 10 ducats again, I'm just going to ask for one last inventory. Hopefully we can manage that. Okay, so while we're waiting, we do have a couple of extra little bits down here. The Holy Roman Empire is important to us, but not that important. We don't really need to care about this screen at all, as a rule. This one here we do need to care about. This is the papacy. While we are Roman Catholic, which we may be for the whole of the game, we're going to be very interested in this screen. We can't currently do anything about it because we don't have any... What do they actually call this? Papal Influence. So until we get some Papal Influence, we can't actually do anything with this. Our Papal Influence is shown there under these keys. Just to come to our aid against Ulster and Utrecht. Right, so this happens a lot when you have allies. They basically drag you into their own wars. One of my fears with Provence is that they'll not only attack Brittany but force us to help them. We have no good reason not to help Scotland here, so we're going to accept we would suffer some serious issues if we didn't accept. We can't afford to lose 50 prestige, we've only got 8. So that's fine. They're attacking Ulster. We're now at war with Ulster and Utrecht, who I think are both... Actually, maybe only Ulster's an Irish nation. Is Utrecht the one up here? It is, so we could actually do something to help. Okay, apparently our trade ships didn't manage to get to safety fast enough, so they actually got hurt, which is unfortunate. So we can't currently attack Utrecht, but it's not really a big concern. Okay. No, we've still got 3 trade ships, so that's fine. So they are now docked, they'll get repaired, and they should... That should be active. Maybe that's why they got attacked. Sure, I activated that. They should just start on their mission again. Actually, we had 4 before, so we have lost 1. I'll send them out again, but they shouldn't actually leave because there's a war. So, seeing as Scotland have dragged us into a war, not a big deal, although at some point we may find we can access Utrecht. But for now, I don't think Scotland are going to have any real issues. And actually, our vassals will probably handle them anyway. They're quite a small nation. A couple of provinces, they're fine. But it's worth noting this shield that's appeared down here. This is the progress of war. So these are all the participants on either side. The main participants are always the top listed. We can, in theory, make peace with Ulster, but we can't make peace with Utrecht. All we can do is make peace for ourselves. There's something saying how fed up each nation is being in the war. This might come in useful later. If this was Scotland and Utrecht had a low enthusiasm for war, they could probably make a peace with Utrecht and isolate Ulster. But as it stands, this doesn't really affect us much. We can mostly ignore this war, I would think, unless Utrecht comes down here and starts messing with us. But yeah, that should be fine. We've actually gained 1 Papal Influence. Oh, we have a cardinal. I had not noticed that we had a cardinal. Brilliant. So that's generally how you gain Papal Influence. You'll find cardinals just appear and disappear almost randomly. I think the Pope has something to do with them, but from our point of view it might as well be random. There are a few events that can affect it, but for now it's good that we're gaining some. But we can't do anything until we get to at least 5, so we'll ignore that, but just sort of keep an eye on it. Okay, so one other thing. Oh yeah, under the shield it does show the progress of the war. Green is good as usual, red is bad, yellow is neutral. 4% means we're 4% towards winning, or technically Scotland's 4% towards winning, so that's good. If that goes red we might have a concern, but on the whole Scotland is a much bigger nation than Ulster. So that should be fine. In fact, if we get more powerful, that's a good thing. It might make them more of a help against England. Okay, so maps. 4 maps over here. I did say there were some that I wanted to add. One of the bigger ones is a map that shows the location of the Holy Roman Empire. So I'm just going to try to add that now. Just click on a blank one. I just select the next one in line. And it's just Imperial. Okay, so it's moved us to the Imperial map automatically. We can always move back to our own, but we now have this available. The reason this is important is because the Holy Roman Empire is a kind of allied group of states. There are quite a few of them. The details do actually appear on this screen. So we've got 59 countries, princes, they're named as. 12 free cities, I think those are separate, so there would be 71 all told. Could be wrong, but I don't think the free cities appear as princes. It's not that important to us, except in that who the emperor is matters, starts as Austria, and also the fact that every member... Oh, this doesn't affect as much, but it is about the Holy Roman Empire. It basically means they're in danger of losing Italy. So a lot of these Italian states, which are part of the Holy Roman Empire, may stop being part, which is very important to us. England are fabricating claims. This is what we're going to do to Brittany. They've got an excuse to attack us, but we don't really care because we're hoping to go to war with them anyway. So all of these coloured states, in theory, are part of the Holy Roman Empire, and the reason this is important is that there's a very high chance when we conquer any of these that the rest of them will band together. They'll form what they call a coalition, so we have to be very careful taking any of these provinces. We're seriously going to be looking at like 1 or 2 per war. We have to be quite careful over here, at least until we're powerful enough to fight all of these put together, which is going to be a while. Apart from the Italian ones, they mostly correspond to modern day Germany, except for Austria and Switzerland. But yeah, they have problems of their own. They're not really a big issue. Some of them may even be friendly, although Austria tends not to be, and they're currently the emperor. But they're unlikely to actually attack us, but we just need to be careful when we take land from them. It's just something to be aware of, so it's worth having them on the map, because whenever we're considering attacking, like those attacks on Savoy that we were considering, we just need to be aware that we can't afford to take as much land as we normally would. You know, where we might take 5 or 6 provinces in Castile or Aragon. Here we're really going to have to stick to just 1 or 2 when they're part of the Holy Roman Empire, at least for now. We need to be careful. We're in a very high risk of getting coalitions, and if that happens, it's very easy to end up in a war with all of them and anyone else who decides to join in, which will probably include England, and we will just get stomped. So we'll try to avoid coalitions, certainly for the early part of the game. Often don't manage it as France, so we'll find out. You can survive a coalition if no one happens to attack you, but it's risky, so we do need to be careful. Right, we've got our final infantry down here, which is good. If we just check the military screen again. So we can have 38, so we do have room for 4 more. However, we don't have much of a gain. To be fair, that's partly one other thing I didn't mention. Actually, I think I did mention. If we enter a war, then all our mothballed forts become active. Okay, so here we go. Here's a surrender of Maine. Charles has gone to the city himself and the local commander has not done it. So, we are officially at war with England again. Right, so we've started our war. He's here. Border tensions. Okay. We'll get a lot of these. These are events. They're mostly random. But it looks like we have a claim, which is brilliant. So that's exactly what we would do when we fabricated a claim, but in this case we haven't fabricated it. So you see, as we expected, England has Portugal on their side. They also have Tyrone, which is part of Ireland. But we have Castile and Scotland, the Isles, which I think is a vassal of Scotland, and Provence, and all of our own vassals. So realistically, that event was just saying we now have a claim on Burgundy due to the event we just had. Realistically, we do not need to worry about Portugal. There's a slight concern that England may start stomping on Scotland. Although on the plus side, it means that England also now has to worry about Scotland. So what we will try to do... There are a few options. In some ways, this is going to be our best chance to really defeat the English. So we don't want to make peace too early. Although making peace early might really help Scotland. On the other hand, Scotland might make peace themselves. Although if they do that, they may lose out a bit. So it's going to be a bit of a question. It's going to be partly how quickly we can put down the English, I suppose. You see, they're already starting on Scotland. It's far easier for them to attack Scotland than it is for them to attack us. And we cannot do anything to help Scotland. We're in no position to send any troops over. Anything we try to send into the water, the English will sink. Or the Portuguese will sink. Castile can handle Portugal on land, but by sea, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So that's it really. Okay, so I've actually moved both of my armies to attack English castles. If you actually click on the land, left click, you get the siege view. It basically shows us how much progress we've made. And if you hover over the percentage, it tells you what may happen next. It's a bit random, and it doesn't actually happen at the end of a month, but we should at some point see a little message flying up saying which of these rolls has happened, and this percentage should change. At the moment it's on -7%, which means there's no chance of them surrendering. And you can see that in the tooltips. Okay, so it's 7 days to go. So when that hits 0, we should see a little message here to say which of these has happened. Defenders desert, that's a really good one. We were very lucky to get that. So that's gone to 7%. There's actually a chance he might surrender. Okay, so here's another random event. Now, normally we like mercantilism, but it's really hurting our merchants, so I'm going to loosen the policy. Okay, so our other siege down here isn't going nearly as well, so that's going to take a while to happen. You can see which lands we've got occupied. We already had Maine occupied at the start, but we've occupied Bordeaux as well. One of our vassals is optimistically trying to siege Calais. But I've mostly gone in for the siege here simply because our armies are bigger than our vassals. In theory, our vassals could be taking these lands. We can also see how the Scottish siege is going. So at the moment they're doing fine. No danger of a surrender. If we want to be kind to Scotland, we will try and end this war fairly soon. On the other hand, if we want to be kind to ourselves, we'll keep it going as long as possible. So, I'm a bit torn. On the one hand, as long as Scotland still exists here, we can land troops later. And we can start getting them some of the land back. But we do want to maximise how much of England's land we've taken as well. torn between being a good ally to Scotland and seriously beating up the English and increasing our own power. So really, in terms of the game, what we should do is let Scotland make peace themselves. They will lose some land, and then our war score will be much higher and we can demand more land. The higher this is when you make peace, generally the better terms you can get in the peace negotiations, which is why I was a bit reluctant to ally Scotland, because everything England takes from Scotland will count against our war score unless Scotland makes peace early, which they probably will. But if they make peace early, they will probably end up giving the English some land, which we don't really want. But it might be worth it for us to get more land on the continent, if that makes sense. We just kind of feel a bit nasty because you're kind of leaving Scotland to lose out. But on the other hand, assuming we do well enough against the English, hopefully by the third war with them we will actually start landing troops on the island of Great Britain. Okay, so we've won the siege of Caen, which is good. I'm just going to polish up these lands around, hopefully aided and abetted by Auld Alliance. The siege is still very much ongoing. It's going to take a while. You see down here... Oh, that's not good. Okay, instant pause. So this does happen. When you've got a spy going, there's a danger every month that they will get caught. If we catch other people's spies, that's great, but if our spies are caught, it's important to stop the clock immediately, because the second they're caught, the spy network starts going down. So we don't want it to go down until we've had a chance to fabricate a claim. So you see here, agent discovered, it's gone down to 25 automatically, but it's going to decrease by 1 every month. So before that happens, we want to fabricate a claim. You can select them up here, but you can just select them on the map. So we want Nantes, because most of all, more than anything, we want to make sure Provence isn't in a position to take it. So we want to take that as soon as possible. I'm actually going to leave the spy there. It should eventually there, so we've just gained the conquest casus belli, so we can more easily make war on them. We should find the spy network starts increasing again after a while. Sometimes I will actually pull the spy out when they get caught. I kind of feel like it isn't worth keeping them in. But on this occasion, because we definitely want to go for Brittany next, I'm just going to leave them in there. Even though the network's just going to go down, it'll start coming up again. Okay, brilliant. So other things to keep an eye on. Yeah, Portugal's sort of mucking around down here, but they haven't come anywhere near us, which is what matters. And Castile is happily stomping on them, as expected. Worth keeping an eye on whether they go to medium, because we could try to get rid of them then. Although actually, because they're going to be doing rather badly, we might be better off keeping them in the war and just trying to make concessions. But we'll see. Okay, let's go straight for Calais. I'm hoping Orléans is going to take this province for us. Still no danger of Dumfries falling. But also no danger of Labor falling, so not ideal. And our war score's only 12%. Still, this looks good. It looks like they're taking it. Okay, so in some ways I feel like we may as well speed up. So just plus and minus to speed things up, really. I'm going to try and slow things down immensely as soon as anything happens. But sieges can take a while. Okay, Scotland have won their war. So that's something, although they didn't gain any land, unfortunately. I think Scotland just decided to end the war early, because they were falling. You see Dumfries has fallen. I don't think it's looking good for Scotland, I'm afraid. They do have one more castle. Oh, hang on. Slow down. Right, we've won one of the sieges, which is brilliant. I'll send you back up to Calais to help in the other one. Not a huge amount of progress going on down here with Castile, actually. That's a little disappointing. I really didn't think I'd need to get involved. I'm suddenly starting to wonder if I do need to get involved. I'll leave them with it for now. We do have 28% war score. Oh, okay, we've finished improving relations with the Papal State, but it hasn't finished the agenda. So we're going to need to do something else. As soon as we can send someone in, what should we do? There are various ways to improve relations, but none of them are a really good option. So I would suggest that we just send them a gift if we can. Apparently we're running a deficit while having loans. Okay, right, we'll just leave it for a bit first then. You see our Brittany spy network has gone down to 0 now. It should start coming up again soon. Alright, I'm going to speed this up. State takes control of the guilds. Okay, what's this? Explaining what a guild is, so we can either take control of the guilds. That gives us government refund progress. I don't consider that all that valuable, but it does give us money. Don't mess with them, which gives us stability, which is far more valuable. And give more control to the guilds. Gives us a small amount of monarch points, which will be useful, but I think stability has to be far more valuable. That gives us a fair few bonuses, so that's fine. Let's speed up again. Still undecided as to whether I should try to make peace before Scotland falls. I might try to make peace after Calais falls. Okay, so Scotland is still technically in the game. I should really wait for them to make peace, but I do feel kind of bad for them. So, yeah, so it's basically the same as when we were declaring war. We go to sue for peace, and there's actually an option for suggest demands, which is terrible. They're seriously only offering us Bordeaux. Well, to start with, the whole war was about Maine, so wow, I'm really surprised by that. Okay, fine. I feel really mean, but I think we're going to have to wait for Scotland to give up, because I really cannot accept so little from England. That is terrible. Sorry, Scotland. Seriously, just Bordeaux? This is going to be our best chance to take land from England. Okay, who's this? This is Tyrone. Okay. So Tyrone's offering us peace. We accepted that. They're giving us 20 ducats. It isn't much. Okay, I'm going to just try making peace with England again, see if they'll give us a bit more. So suggest demands, they'll give us Maine and Bordeaux. At least this way Scotland wins out instead of England. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be kind to Scotland. So Scotland's intact. They've just been given the Isle of Man back. But we haven't gained a huge amount of land from England. Haven't fulfilled any missions. but I do feel like I've been a really good ally. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. And it also means that, because we haven't kept the war going too long, we can hopefully move in on Brittany very soon. Probably as soon as this gets to 25, because we can fabricate another claim at 25. The cost of fabricating a claim goes up the more claims you already have. But if we can claim just these two, I think I will be happy with that. Okay, what's next? Right. We've managed to gain some loans. I didn't actually notice us gaining those, but we can't afford to pay them back just yet. Royal marriage offer, that's good. We have a spare diplomat. Well, let's improve our relations with Scotland, since they have some reason to be grateful to us. I know they were helping us in our war, but they have got the Isle of Man out of it. So that was kind of more of a role-playing thing than a good strategy. Really, what we should have done is hung on until Scotland made peace themselves and gave up land to the English. Our war score would have risen immensely, and we could then have claimed way more of English's lands. I'm not too worried about it, because I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to kick the English out anyway. It just might take us a bit longer now. But at least now I don't have to feel guilty about Scotland. Okay, Provence has just been excommunicated. That's what we're trying to avoid. It's actually a very good point. We still need to find a way to improve relations further with the Pope. We may need to sort our money out first. We are gaining money every month, so that's good. Even with our castles not mothballed, we're now gaining money. So let's actually mothball them again, because everything seems pretty peaceful. The extra stability isn't hurting. We should have some extra prestige and power projection as well from having won that war. We've effectively ended the 100 Years' War, and we've taken Maine anyway, as well as Bordeaux. So that's good. In fact, with that in mind, I may actually go for another advisor, because we seem to be getting enough now. Okay, so spy network construction is our only option. For a +1. Let's get him, because we are in fact making a spy network, so that's useful. Different tactics, okay, so it's siege ability versus fort defense. I'm going to go for attack, because we mostly are going to be attacking. I'm not particularly worried about people attacking us at the moment, powerful though Burgundy can sometimes be. We should have gained a bit of extra prestige because we defeated our rival as well. England being our rival, which is good. Okay, we now have 6 Papal Influence. So the first thing we normally do is, if we have no chance of becoming an ex-Curia controller, it's always worth spending the first 5 Papal Influence to get a chance. Apparently we in England each have a 50% chance, so yeah, we definitely don't want England to be the Curia controller, or we might not dare attack them. Although if the Pope's got a positive opinion of us, they can't excommunicate us anyway. But yeah, as usual, it will cost more every time we want more influence. So generally the first 5 is always worth spending, the 10 questionable, because there are other things we can spend Papal Influence on. The Curia controller effectively controls the Pope and gets all these benefits. Often it's the Papal State itself, but at the moment, if the Pope dies, we in England have a 50% chance each of becoming the next one, and we do gain a lot of advantages. So it's always worth having a chance, at least, as long as you're Roman Catholic. The other things we can generally do are these Papal Blessings, so we'll be saving up for these. You usually need 50 Papal Influence, so it'll take a while. So we'll worry about that once we've got 50 Papal Influence. It's going to take some time. Okay, we could really do with paying this loan back. It's going to cost cost us a fair bit to pay back. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to speed up a little. Oh, I think I'll speed up a lot because we really need to get this spy network done. Okay, new event. Right, we've got a new option for gaining administrative power. We can gain a little administrative power with no cost at all, or we can gain a lot, well, 50, but we gain inflation. I would usually always go for the inflation, simply because that affects money and admin power especially, but any of these I would argue are more important than money most of the time. So great, let's keep going. Okay, brilliant, we're there. Okay, this is slightly unusual. Basically, we will gain benefits from Montpellier if we accept this position from a bourgeoisie, but they will gain some land. So it's a little risky, but we do have a little more than we need. So let's accept that. Burgundy's making claims, they're going to be a problem, but we're also going to make a claim now. Fabricate Claim on Rennes. And I'm now going to pull our spy out of there. And we're basically going to attack, I'm thinking. So their allies are England and Aragon, but we can get Castile and Provence to help us. Do we want to make any claims on Aragon? I don't think we should risk it. Much as I would like to, I'm worried that Provence is going to beat us to the punch. So let's just do it. So we're going to go straight in here. I'm going to hope that Castile can handle Aragon. But in any case, I need to take these two, especially this one, province before Provence can. So we should be okay because we got our troops in there first. So hopefully we'll be fine. I just moved out of this land because I want to take down the Britannic army. You can see, because we're selected, you can see the details on the battle. But mostly it's going fine. Nothing to worry about. We're just going to have to keep an eye on Aragon. Less worried about England. Right, we just lost a general. Unfortunately the one doing the siege. And we can't actually replace him because he's in enemy territory. But it's fine. It doesn't matter how long that siege takes. And I don't think Brittany's going to be able to break it. So probably... Actually, once we've taken this land, going to start on England again, assuming they did join in, which they did. So I would like to start taking Aragon's land. But for now, might even make peace fairly rapidly with Brittany, because we only need these two provinces. We'll see. See how it goes anyway. In the meantime, we should probably start improving our relationships. Should we do it with Provence? Actually, I wonder if we should do it with one of our smaller vassals. So Auvergne is probably the smallest. Let's start improving relations. The reason I want to improve relations is because we need to start annexing these vassals. And we need their opinion of us to be 190 to do that. So I just want to start that going. Enemy invasion imminent. Okay, so that means England is about to land some troops, which is annoying. In fact, so annoying, I'm going to send one of my armies down to intercept them, if we can. And if not, I'll send them to take Le Bourg. Oh, they're actually moving away from us. But I don't want them attacking our troops. And there's a chance we could even take this from England. You never know. But I'm quite happy to finish this rapidly. It'd almost be worth it just to get this one province. So maybe if we can take the castle. Not really looking to fight England or Aragon on this occasion. Slightly unusual for Brittany to have those as allies, actually. There's a more formidable war than I was expecting. But not formidable enough to put me off. Okay, well maybe now we can improve relations with Provence. Now we've got one of our vassals going. I think we're going to want to increase speed again. Stop it from being too boring. There's not a lot happening. Brittany's in the north, but their armies aren't big enough to really be a threat. England, for some reason, just attacked us, and we utterly crushed them. So that's fine. Okay, these happen a lot. I'm going to accept them. The request of military access. They're usually not something to worry about, so I would normally just accept them when we get them. I think we do get a bit of money for accepting them as well, which is always nice. But yeah, I'm expecting our vassals to be able to handle these armies of Britain. Plus Castile's now wandering around the country, which is a little worrying because I'd rather they worried about their own things and fought Aragon. Okay, we can steal a cardinal, but I have a feeling it's from one of our own vassals, so I would rather not, honestly. Okay, apparently we actually just lost a war. I evidently wasn't paying much attention. It's probably partly because we were on an enemy fort. That does give a lot of advantages to whoever owns the fort. So that's a bit unfortunate. You see our war score is actually negative now, and it looks like our army was actually wiped out, which is unusual. Normally your army will get a chance to flee. Maybe Aragon came up behind us? Sorry, looking for the military screen. Yep, it is indeed saying we only have 15,000 troops. So one of our armies has been completely wiped off the board. Okay, so that's worrying. We might actually be losing. But anyway, in the meantime, we've got a few new alerts. These ones just say that someone's landing troops, England usually. This one says we're at war, that one says we have a loan, this one says there are unfriendly ships blockading our ports. I haven't explained a lot of these. These are the claims we've made that will at some point expire. This is talking about truces we have, but this one's quite important. This is technology. I did briefly flash it up. Most of the time, when we get these, we do want to just accept them. They just represent advancing technology. That will change over time, but for now we've gained a new technology and we can now build churches, which is useful. That's also given a new icon, which is telling us that we have enough money to build a province improvement, to make a building basically, which is good news. Better news than the current progress of this war, which is really not going well at all. Can't do a huge amount about it though, except maybe we could consider hiring mercenaries. Maybe. How's this doing? Actually, we might be close to taking this castle. So, I wonder if it's worth just helping for now. Although we really should go down and try and beat up these armies. I'm just wondering if adding a bit of extra punch could make all the difference in this siege. So we've got another technology. This one's well worth getting. It's military. We have to be very careful with military technologies. We must make sure we never fall too far behind, especially our rivals. So if we right click England, get the diplomatic screen, you can see their current military tech here. Ours just went up to 4. Ours is also 3, so that should give us at least a small advantage. It varies as to how much advantage you get. I'm not convinced we're going to have a huge advantage out of this one, but nonetheless, every little helps. We must remember to add a general back onto this army. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, let's see if we can build a couple more infantry for that army. Accidentally made 2 infantry in 1 space. You don't generally want to do that because they have to be raised from the local populace. So generally they're only going to be built 1 at a time. So we'll take twice as long to get our infantry now. But I'm not going to cancel it, because I'm concerned that might do more harm than good. Okay, so while this is turning out to be harder than I had planned on, I think we are still winning. So the plan is for us to bolster this army a little. Brittany is more or less done for. I want this castle done for, and then I'm going to head down and start attacking these armies. It'd be great if I could separate them and attack them on our forts, but we'll see what we can do. Start sending these new troops in. Nope, we have taken them. So let's head down to Maine, because that's where the new troops are being built. I'm going to merge these armies. Give them the general from the army that got destroyed. Put them together. Let's head down. In fact, let's head there first, because that's our actual castle. And this is quite good. If you abandon a siege before it's complete, you have to start from scratch. So what Foix has done here is they've managed to lure England away from the castle they were sieging and effectively broken the siege. That's very good work. Now, because they're on our fort here, I think we should be able to win this. And it doesn't look like everyone's coming down to help, which is a surprise. So that is good. So hopefully our manpower pool, which is still positive, will repair this army. We've also got another part of our army coming down. The only English province still up here is Calais. However, England are attacking Castile quite badly. What do we have here? Right, so we've got a really good fortification guy. We could take him, but this option here is actually gets better fortifications until the end of the game. So it's only 1 province, but given we're only 6 years into the game, and it's a game of not that far off 400 years, local defensiveness till the end of the game is brilliant. Well worth having. So yeah, let's definitely go with that. So I definitely want to start helping Castile soon. I'm just wondering, especially because they seem to have suddenly lost their general, whether it's worth us attacking this army first. Because they're in our vassals' land. We've got a slight advantage. Well, a slight numerical advantage, but we've got a much better general. Although they have just gained another general. Maybe I just couldn't see their general. Okay, so it's a bit risky. Some of it depends on these die rolls. Higher the better, so we're actually being quite lucky there. Less so now. But yeah, so that's probably one of the reasons why we've won. We did lose quite a few troops, but we did actually win. Now let's see if I can make peace with Brittany. Right, we can only get Nantes, I think. But I will accept that because honestly, this is quite turned into quite a dangerous war, and really that is all we need. It should stop Provence from being able to make any claims. So much as it would have been nice to take much longer and beat up the English, I think it's worth it. It's worth pulling out there, because who knows, Castile might have made peace because they weren't having a very good time. I am playing quite cautiously. But it's worked. We've made a little bit of progress. Right, so we've got a new alert here. That's basically because we've taken some land that we didn't have as a core. It's not considered French land, as the land we took back from the English was. So what we need to do now is use administrative power to make it a core. One of the first things we're going to try to do is something that will make this cheaper. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to lump it. So it's quite expensive, but they're going to start making it a core. If we didn't do that, we would basically suffer from these overextension penalties. So we're trying to get rid of these. More military access. So, the other problem we're going to have to deal with, but we'll deal with that next time, is that we lost one of our armies. So we're going to have to spend quite a bit of time building that up. On the plus side, might just mothball the forts again while I'm thinking. On the plus side, it should mean that we're gaining more money, or at least we will once we stop coring this province, and that can be quite expensive, and it is going to take a while. But in any case, that is generally positive. So let's just end there for now. So it could have been better. I've been a little bit more conservative than you probably should be as France. I'll probably carry on being conservative, but on the plus side, Scotland didn't lose any land in our war with England. They actually gained a little bit, so that makes England a little weaker. We've taken a couple of provinces back. Admittedly, one was just Maine, and we've taken one from Brittany and hopefully stopped Provence from making claims on them. So we will have to decide what we're going to do next. At some point, I think we have to have a vassal for 10 years before we can annex them. So 1454, we're going to look at annexing at least one of our vassals. Maybe even a few of them. We do also at some point want to make a move on Burgundy, but we're also going to want to start fabricating claims all over the show. Like, we'd like to fabricate some on Aragon next time we're in a war on them. Probably Burgundy, although I think we do have a claim anyway. And maybe even some of the Holy Roman Empire if we get the chance. So we'll see how it goes. There are a lot of options as France. But for the time being, we've chipped away a bit at England, we've managed to be a good ally to Scotland, we've chipped away a bit at Brittany. I've had more successful starts, but nothing has gone wrong. So, reasonably happy with that. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.